Yay.
Oh, Phil, so glad to see you.
Hi, you're on TV.
Okay, everything is wonderful. He's my favorite man. He's lovely.
Oh, yeah. I'm just showing Philip some of the old picture of the his regiment.
This poster. Yeah, we found it in internet.
Yeah.
Internet.
And Philip have the real one.
Philip get the original.
The people is coming, yeah? We are getting ready to take a bus to the governor house. It's the first time. Oh, it's a bus here.真係不實餐時喎，係咪餐時啦？哇！啲包而家包咗巴士喎，好嘢喎！嚇？係咯，沙塔嚟㗎嘛而家，嚇？好嘢喎！沙塔。This is the governor house. We're heading, 我哋去食 sandwich.
Are you in Ottawa? Yes, I am. Okay, yeah, I live in Ottawa.
I'm down the street from Lindsay. I'm I had to come to Winnipeg to say hello to my neighbor.
You're up here.
When we start, we'll start the evening with a receiving line. We will go through the doors on the right, my right now, some of your left. And a colleague of mine will be standing there. If you would give them your first and last name, then she will announce to their honors, you by name. You'll go through, shake their hands, and carry on into the back of the ballroom. That would be greatly appreciated. Once everybody is in the ballroom, there are some seating, but mostly it's a stand-up reception, so standing in the back of the chairs, I would ask that those that need seats, please allow them to sit, and then the rest just queue in the back. There'll be a couple of short announcements, followed by a light supper and refreshments afterwards, so we'll guide you through that. And are there any questions? Excellent. Thank you much.
佢哋都係 CIC 嚟嘅，
係香港人嚟嘅。喂，影我啊！影緊。我埋影相啊！我握手。我埋握手
Get in line. Your Honors, Jonathan Hope. Jonathan Hope. And your name?
I'm Tim Fan.
Tim Fan.
Yes.
Ça c'est, j'ai le plaisir de souhaiter la bienvenue au Manitoba, au Congrès national du Hong Kong Veterans Commemorative Association. Here in Manitoba, the Hong Kong veterans have a special place in our memories and in our heart, especially for myself who was born in Hong Kong. My mother told me that the first bomb shell in Hong Kong was only about 2 blocks away from where I was born. And of course, you know, it was a few years before I was born too, so I didn't hear the bomb shell. As the Lieutenant Governor of the province, that was the original home of so many Canadians, Hong Kong veterans. I'm pleased to welcome members of this association and their families to our province for this convention. As a Manitoban who was born in Hong Kong, as I said earlier, not so long after the Canadian of Sea Force made their brave stand against a massive invading force, I feel a special debt of gratitude to those 1,975 brave soldiers, Canadians who crossed the Pacific Ocean to defend a community so far from their own home. Many of them were little more than boys. Young men like William Bell and his brother Gordon, who had joined the army after coming to age in the hard times of the Great Depression. I imagine that for many of those who endure the honors of the Battle of Hong Kong, or the long, terrible imprisonment that followed, thoughts must be at times have turned to the beauty of their home country. It therefore is fitting that across Canada, rivers and lakes and other natural features are named for the men and women who lost their lives in the Second World War and other conflicts. Here in Manitoba, we have the Agerback Lake, named for the Corporal Tash Agerback of Pilot Mound, Manitoba, whose body was not found after the pillbox he was sheltering in was struck by artillery on December 24th, 1941. What a day to spend for the Christmas Eve. And we have Dunford Lake, named for 44-year-old Sergeant Edward Dunford of Winnipeg, a First World War veteran who had immigrated to Canada in 1920 and died on December 19, 1941. In a reconnaissance of enemy positions on Mount Forward. And on Sermon Lake, we have the Bell Peninsula, named for Private Gordon Bell, who almost made it to the end of the war before dying as a result of the terrible conditions in the prisoners of the war camp. A few months later, his brother William returned from the war, and in the years to come, he raised a family, and many decades later, then they talk about their experiences. Mr. Bell died this April. My condolences to your family, Mr. Bell's family. But like many of the Hong Kong veterans, his memory lives on the hearts of the Canadians who are dedicated to preserving our national memory. When I think of Hong Kong veterans, like the Bell brothers, Sergeant Dunford, Corporal Agerback, I sometimes think of the peaceful scenes of the lakes and rivers, the bears, and that bears the names of many of our veterans. When we take part in that Canadian pastime of going to the lake, I hope that we can all take time to think of those who sacrificed their lives, their health, and their liberty to defend our country, our way of life, and the lives of innocent people living halfway around the world. There are few things more important and more beautiful than a Canadian lake at sunrise or sunset. When we are enjoying that view, we would do well to recall those words of the poet Lawrence Binet. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
As I said, the place where I was born, there's a cemetery called Saiwan Bay. A very touching scene when we went there several times to lay our wreaths. I think the Prime Minister and I went 3 years ago, and for the last 2 years, consecutive years, the Premier and I went to visit the Saiwan Bay and lay our wreath too. It is a very moving scene, the best cemetery in the world, in my opinion. And that piece of property, is sort of sloping down. And Ray McCauley, our protocol officer, can describe to you how beautiful the cemetery is. And the value of land for that cemetery alone is like almost the price of Buckingham Palace. To the veterans among you, I thank you for your service to Canada, and to all the members and supporters of the Hong Kong Veterans Commemorative Association. I thank you for your efforts to maintain the strength of remembrance in our country. Thank you, merci beaucoup, and we shall remember.
At this time, I would like to invite Ms. Carol Halliday forward to lead you through the rest of the program. She's the president of the Hong Kong Commemorative Veterans Association of Manitoba.
Thank you. It's Carol Hadley, but most of you know that. Anyway, Your Honors, on behalf of the Hong Kong Veterans Commemorative Association, the Hong Kong veterans, the family and guests that are here this evening, I'd like to extend our deep gratitude for you hosting this wonderful reception to start our 10th biannual convention here in Winnipeg. And also, today is August 15th, so it's VJ Day for us as well. Thank you. We're honored and sincerely appreciate your attendance at some of our past events and your interest in the Canadians who fought in World War II in Hong Kong, the place of your birth. At this time, I wish to introduce to you and through you to those in attendance the 6 Hong Kong veterans who are able to attend this convention. Gentlemen, you don't have to rise, just raise your arm and the folks can see who you are. From Quebec, Mr. Phil Doddridge, President of the Hong Kong Veterans. From Manitoba, Mr. George Peterson, who is Vice President. From BC, we have Mr. Jerry Gerard. We have Mr. Ralph McLean. And from Ontario, we have Mr. George McDonnell and Mr. Ken Hubbard. Prairie Region is hosting the convention, and with this region, in this region, we have our regional director, Juliette LaFortune. She's the Prairie Regional Director, and Dennis Bell and Marlene Bell are co-chairs of the convention.
Sorry about this.
Oh, George.
Yay, George! Oh, George!
Veterans, ladies and gentlemen, members of our commemorative association, it's a very great pleasure for me today to be able to attend this convention. I don't know if you know it or not, but I'm determined to live until I'm 106 years old. By that time, I figure I'll be the last Hong Kong veteran. No. I'm sorry, but I will. I'm paid up in our association until 2027. Also, Historical Society. Then I will be 106. By then, I'm still going to live. Thank you very much.